AT&T attacks SpaceX Starlink. Here's why. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much once again joining me for tea time. Today we have a little bit of fireside. That smokiness, guys, so good, so good. I hope you're joining me with your cup of tea, maybe hanging out, talking tech, talking photo, talking video. Today is going to be a technology day. We're going to be talking about AT&T. You know how much I love AT&T. Not so much. And SpaceX, and there's another organization. They're kind of combining together to go against SpaceX Starlink because of one issue, another issue. Anything to possibly stymie the efforts of Elon Musk's space program. This is what they do. And I don't blame them, because all of these telcos are getting run over by Starlink. And they see it. The writing is on the wall. It is all about data these days, right? The old days of, you can only text, 100 times, and then we're going to charge you extra per text, or you only get this many phone calls or this amount of time. You get a specific amount. I buy 100 minutes, 200, whatever. That is all gone, right? Those days are gone. These telcos cannot make money anymore like that. Matter of fact, they can't even do contracts anymore. No one will sign them. So what do? They give you a phone and then they make you pay for the phone over the course of 2 years, which turns into a contract because no matter what, you still have to pay the phone off, right? It's a way to get you in the door and kind of hold you steady to prevent you from leaving to another company. So this is what they've been doing. They've been doing it for a long time. And I think that once again, the writing is on the wall. The telcos are just having a major, major problem when it comes to Elon Musk, because he has the ability to provide data from the stars, all right? And they don't like it. That's really the bottom line. So I was reading an article over on PC Magazine. I want to go through some of it with you and give you some of my commentary. But I also had a really nice conversation with a woman that was at T-Mobile about what is going on. And I'm going to play some of that conversation that I had with her. I will probably disguise her voice and leave her 100% anonymous, but it gives you an idea of what is going on between Deutsche Telekom, T-Mobile, and SpaceX. What is going on with this whole partnership that supposed to have happened like last year, right? Or did happen like almost 2 years ago now, but there has been no fruit of this partnership, right? And I talked about that in a few past videos. I'm also going to get into a couple other topics that discuss this regulatory stuff that is really, once again, stymieing the whole space program as such. And if we don't solve this and solve it soon, we're going to see the likes of China, for example, just exceed our space program. And this is something that has never happened in the past, and it might happen if they don't do something and do something quickly. And there was a congressional meeting about this, and I want to discuss some of that with you also. So this might be a little bit longer, but I find that the information is very interesting. So what we're going to be talking about is not only the cellular to satellite connectivity, but also Starship in general and how things are really just stuck in the mud. Anyways, let's get into this article. But before I do, I just want to say, if you enjoy this content, even in the least, throw it a thumbs up. That'd be very helpful. Consider subscribing if you're not. If you are, click this little button over here, so when I go live or when a new video comes out, you'll be notified of it immediately. Matter of fact, tonight I will be live at 8:30. Join me, hang out, let's have some fun, right? I might even have Fabiola, my wife, on with me. That's always nice instead of seeing this stupid mug all the time. Also, if you want to just contribute to the channel, you want to say thank you, there's a little thank you button right down here. You could give $1 or $2 if you like. If not, that's perfectly fine. Consider becoming a member of the channel. That would be even better. And if you haven't downloaded any of my ebooks, go check them out. They are free. Go to JCristina.com/books. Once again, JCristina.com/books. And if you're looking for a VPN, check out PureVPN. The nice folks over there gave us a promo code, which is JCristina. You could also use the link, which is jcristina.com/VPN. Once again, jcristina.com/VPN, and you will get 15% off, additional percent off, just by using that promo code or that link. And finally, if you want more Starlink goodness, I know you do, When you're done watching this video, check out my Starlink playlist. I'll put a link right over here. There's about 200 plus videos, all Starlink oriented. So now that the housekeeping is all done, let's jump right into this article. It starts out by saying SpaceX accuses AT&T and Rural Wireless Association. If you don't know who Rural Wireless Association or RWA is, it's like an association that is or has the backing of Dish Network. Just keep that in mind. Have waged a desperate 11th hour campaign to prevent the test, which would involve a second-generation Starlink satellite. SpaceX hopes to kick off a satellite test for its Starlink cellular service later this year, but SpaceX says that AT&T and a trade association, once again that RWA, are trying to prevent the effort. SpaceX's main application to offer service is still moving through the FCC's regulatory process. What else is new? But earlier this month, the company filed a special temporary authority, or an STA, application to launch and start testing a second-generation Starlink satellite as soon as December 1st. That's right around the corner. The satellite would be equipped with a direct-to-cellular communication payload to connect unmodified cellular phones directly to SpaceX's Generation 2 satellites. The test would involve beaming data to smartphones using T-Mobile's PCS G-Block radio spectrum. Now, if you don't know what this G-Block radio spectrum is, and this, I believe, extends that band 25 and band 2. Basically, the G-Block was bought. It was acquired, let's say, from Sprint when T-Mobile ended up buying Sprint. So this was originally a Sprint block of spectrum, 4G LTE network spectrum to be exact. And that is what SpaceX Starlink is going to use for this communication between cell phone and satellite. All right, so hopefully that helps. So you know what's going on here. Quote, the STA would also allow SpaceX to confirm the operational status of its direct-to-cell satellites and their ability to communicate with cell phones immediately upon insertion, rather than waiting weeks for the satellite's complete orbital rise to ensure proper functioning. What does that all mean? Basically, what that means is instead of waiting for the satellite to get to its operational altitude, its orbital altitude, they're going to be able to test immediately. So once that satellite gets up to, let's say 250 kilometers at the initial launch, they could start testing immediately. They don't have to wait for it to get to 550 kilometers. They don't need to do that. That's what this is saying. SpaceX originally filed the STA on October 2nd, but the application has since encountered resistance from AT&T and Rural Wireless Association, which both lodged regulatory complaints with the FCC last week over the test. What else is new, right? This is what continues happening. Constant, just filings upon regulatory filings against SpaceX. This is what's been happening. Anyways, in May, AT&T and Rural Wireless Association told the FCC that SpaceX needs to supply more technical details about Starlink's cellular service to prove the technology won't cause interference with other carriers. AT&T now argues that SpaceX is trying to conduct the Starlink cellular test under the wrong regulatory process. Quote, instead, the proper venue to authorize the novel testing SpaceX seeks is through an experimental license from the Office of Engineering and Technology, the carrier wrote in its own filing. The Rural Wireless Association agrees. It adds that SpaceX needs to first demonstrate the cellular Starlink service won't cause interference before kicking off the real-world tests. Quote, if such testing is authorized, it should be authorized through the experimental license granted by the FCC's Office of Engineering and Technology and not an STA request. This is what they argue. Still, SpaceX last Friday said it filed an application to conduct the test, noting the FCC chair, Jessica Rosenworcel, gave a speech in February about working to make it easier for satellite companies to serve U.S. customers through new broadband options. Unfortunately, now that SpaceX is on the cusp of reaching the chairwoman's goal by deploying a system that will finally bring ubiquitous connectivity across the country, AT&T and Dish Mouthpiece, the Rural Wireless Association, or the RWA, have seemingly coordinated a desperate 11th hour campaign to prevent it, the company said. SpaceX is now calling on the FCC to quickly approve its STA, arguing that both AT&T and RWA raises a series of baseless procedural claims while offering no substantive reason to deny the application. Further, an STA would be technically identical to an experimental license, presenting no increased risk of harmful interference to other spectrum users, the company added. SpaceX is aiming to start serving customers with the Starlink cellular option as soon as next year. The same service is also poised to compete with the STA Space Mobile's own cellular satellite system, of which AT&T is a partner. So, as you can see here, it's this back and forth between that RWA, which is a dish network, as they call it, mouthpiece association, right? As well as AT&T, going back and forth with the FCC, filings upon filings upon filings on why Elon Musk, SpaceX, should not be allowed to do this testing. And this is the kind of stuff that happens. Now, I reached out to a really nice woman over at T-Mobile, and she gave me a bunch of information about what is going on and what they speculate should be happening. So I want to play some of this for you, and then after, I want to get back into this commentary.
We need to be on the newer plan to be able to make it affordable for people to have that connectivity to the satellite without having to pay extra on your bill. So my theory is that they're getting everybody ready for this announcement without saying that they're getting us ready for the announcement. Because that's the only thing that makes sense to me. Because T-Mobile doesn't do this. We don't normally make changes like this unless there's something that's going to benefit our customers. They don't force people to make changes. That's why we also gave an opt-out button. If you really don't want it, you don't have to. They want everybody to go to the new plan so that it's systematic. Like, it's a simple, easy, they push a button, everybody gets the access. And on the new plan, then that means people are having to call in to add on a feature to be able to get the access, and then there's costs that could go into that. And it may have been just cheaper to go to the other plan. That's what they're preparing for.
So what you're speculating is Elon Musk and the T-Mobile partnership is finally starting to come together, even though
it was over 2 years ago that we should have had something last quarter, like by December of 22, because they made the announcement in the summer, and they said by fourth quarter we'll have an answer. But there was so much sticky red tape that they haven't actually given us an answer yet. And so I'm assuming, and this is just me speculating because I really do believe that T-Mobile does right by their customers, that there is something in the works that they're going to make this announcement, and they're going to include it in our Go 5G Plus plans. So if you're on those plans, you don't pay extra to have the access. If you're not on those plans, then that means that there's probably going to be something that gets charged to have that access.
So that extra access is basically the ability to do text, I believe. I think it's 2024. And then 2025, they were saying that's when we were being able to do calls to the satellite.
Calls and data. The goal is to eventually get it to where everybody can just have full coverage wherever they go, internationally or in the U.S. by satellite. I don't know if it's going to actually happen or not. I mean, it would be great if it does, but that was the goal that I got from that, is making it to where there's coverage no matter where you go.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's probably what the whole partnership between T-Mobile or Deutsche Telekom and Elon Musk, SpaceX Starlink.
Yep, 100%. And I think that that's what's coming, and that's what all of this is about, but they can't say that yet because there's still a bunch of red tape that they're working through. Because I've had a couple meetings where I've gone to and I've asked multiple times, what's the status? What are we doing? How much longer? When do we get that announcement? Because it's going to make a big difference for T-Mobile customers, especially for people who are used to being in areas where we don't get coverage. It would be very helpful to be able to have that connectivity so we can at least know that text messages and phone calls are still going to connect when we're in an area where our phone says no service. And the other side of it, and the reason I really, really think it's coming, is because iPhones don't do updates to certain things unless it's been tested and it's tried, and then they add it. So the fact that 2 generations of iPhones now have SOS satellite tech connectivity tells me that something definitely is in the works and coming down the pipeline. We just don't know the status yet.
Right, right. They're using, I think it's Global Star, and T-Mobile will be using Elon Musk's Starlink.
Exactly. I personally believe that's what's in the works. They just can't tell us anything until it's official. Kind of like the Sprint merger thing, that was in talks for 3 years before it became public news. And then it just boom, 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 it was done.
So as you can see, she is of the understanding through all of the meetings that she has had that this should have happened last year, December 2022. December 2022 is when this actually should have all came to pass. But due to, as she calls it, the sticky tape, the red tape, it hasn't. And this goes back to the FCC and what has been going on over there, dragging their feet, one thing after another thing after another thing. Now this, we're talking right now about the cellular to satellite connectivity, but we could be talking about Starship. It's the exact same BS. It is unbelievable the amount of just delay upon delay upon delay that has been going on when it comes to this stuff. And what they don't understand is the space industry is being affected. Now, let me just round robin back to what she was saying. And the reason being is a lot of you guys have asked me about this connectivity. And if you have Starlink, are you going to be able to use it with any phone or any service provider? And according to what I'm understanding here is no, you cannot. So if you have T-Mobile, all right, and you have like an old Magenta plan, what they're doing is they're trying to migrate people into their 5G plan, their Go 5G, Go 5G Plus plans. All right. The reason they're doing it is because those Go plans are going to have this connectivity built into it for free, whereas the older plans will not. And that's where there was a lot of speculation about this $10. Oh, T-Mobile is going up by the 17th, an extra $10, blah, blah, blah. And what she said is that is not true. That was rumor. The $10 is for old accounts that if they do want this connectivity, this inter-satellite connectivity, they're going to have to pay $10 for it. But all the new accounts, they stay the same. All right, does this make sense? So this is what I heard from the horse's mouth. So now that we know that, we can kind of move forward. And we know that if you have T-Mobile, moving on, most likely by the beginning of 2024, you're going to start having the ability to text, even when there's no service anywhere. Then when we move into the end of 2024, into 2025, you're going to be able to make data calls, right? You're going to be able to make a phone call. You might be able to use some data, very small portions of data. But once again, your phone needs to be outside. You need to be outdoors. You cannot do this indoors. It can't see a satellite through the roof. All right? We're on the same page here. Now, I was reading another article about this whole everything is just being stymied, right? From all these regulatory bodies, and it's just making it just a mess. And there was this congressional meeting that took place. And I want to read just a couple of paragraphs of this to you, because I think it's important just to understand how important space is, number one, and how important it is that we remain number one when it comes to space. Just how the US always wants to be number one when it comes to war. They want to have the biggest of everything, right? The most bombs, the most tanks, the most ships, the most planes, the most everything, right? And to be able to keep that type of supremacy, especially when it comes to space, there needs to be some fixing going on. And that's what they were talking about here. It says industry officials use a Senate hearing to request reforms to the FAA, or the Federal Aviation Administration's launch licensing process, warning a dire commercial and geopolitical implications if changes aren't made. This is what we're just talking about. Witnesses at the hearing on October 18th argue that the strong growth of the industry, as seen in the last several years, is in jeopardy because of the strain on the FAA's office that regulates launches as well as implementation of current and potential future regulations. Quote, "The pace of American regulation must match the pace of American innovation." What a great statement. The pace of American regulation must match the pace of American innovation. "We are falling behind," said Bill Gerstenmaier, Vice President of Building and Flight Reliability at SpaceX. Quote, "We are at a breaking point. Gerstenmaier and other witnesses called for providing the FAA's Commercial Space Transportation Office, known as the AST, with additional resources. He specifically recommended doubling the AST's budget, $37.9 billion in fiscal year 2023, provided that additional resources go exclusively to the office's licensing work. Not for $500 hammers, not for additional pay for here, there, only for the offices regarding the licensing work. That licensing work needs to be addressed, and it's just falling behind. They simply need to speed up this process. And if there's not enough people, there's not enough hands on deck, you need more hands. And what they're saying is, look, double the amount. From $37.9 billion, double it. Give them another $37.9 billion, but only for a specific purpose. And that purpose is for the licensing department of the FAA solely. And that is it. It finalizes with, the changes are also needed to keep its work on the lunar lander version of Starship on track. Quote, when we have regulatory delays, such as we're facing right now, that slows down developmental test flights and ultimately slows down our support to NASA and slows down our support for what we need to do to return humans back to the surface of the moon again. This is what he warns. A continuous delay in each and every test flight adds up, and eventually we will lose our lead and we will see China land on the moon before we do. This is very, very important, guys. This is very important, and I do agree with what SpaceX is proposing here. Listen, double the amount that the FAA is getting, right? Added an additional $37.9 billion, but just make sure that that money goes solely to where it needs to be. And that is licensing. This is the problem. So for quite some time, I've been saying this, right? I've been saying the FAA, the FCC, all the rest of these regulatory bodies have just been dragging their feet and making it very difficult on Elon Musk. I do believe that is still the case. I don't think that they like the guy. All right, but I do see that there is a problem going on here also. And the problem has to do with the breakneck speed in which SpaceX iterates. They love blowing shit up. They want to go, 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 go. That's how they work. They test and test and retest, just like they were saying with the satellite. We want to be able to test through this STA licensing, whatever, this approval. We want to test the satellite before it even gets into the proper orbital height. I don't care. It doesn't need to get to that 550-kilometer altitude. We'll test it before it even gets there. Once again, just to speed things up. That's the way they work. But remember, government works the exact polar opposite. They just love to just drag their feet in the mud as slow as possible because they're getting paid per the hour. SpaceX has a goal. Elon Musk has a goal to get us to the moon, and then from the moon getting us to Mars. And he wants to do it before he's dead. That's it. I mean, all the rest of this stuff is just means to an end. SpaceX Starlink is a means to an end. SpaceX Starlink is a way for him to make an ass load of money. That money goes directly to his Mars project. That's what he's doing. All right, if people don't see that and they think that he's just trying to control the world, you're delusional. That is not what it is. This guy has a focus. He's got a goal, and that goal is Mars. All right? It's not power. It's not money. I mean, he sold every damn house he owns, and he lives like in a little pop-up thing. If you don't believe me, check into it. All right. So I really do believe that they need to fix this. The FCC, the FAA, all of these regulatory bodies, they need to come together and fix their house. They need to clean things up, make things more expedient, get stuff out there on a timely basis. And I absolutely love that quote. I'm going to put it in the description of this video where it says, the pace of American regulation must match the pace of American innovation. You're not going to get any more perfect than that. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I know it was a little bit longer. I'm sorry. If you did, throw the video a thumbs up. Tell your friends, family, colleagues to come take a look at us. Join me tonight live. And finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools I've invented for you and me over the years. And hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up and support me and my family. That's it, guys. I'm out of here for another vlog. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you in the next one. Love you all.